Crimes happen anywhere on Earth. Most of the criminal cases get solved, but some have remained unsolved for a long time. The criminals behind some crimes are never caught by anyone. In this video, we will be looking at such 10 criminal cases that are still unsolved and are still a mystery. Some of you must have heard about a creepy, unsolved murder case. Some cases have made it into the newspapers as well, but some are still unknown to the public for unknown reasons. Maybe they were too terrifying to be disclosed to the public, but we know that it is important that everyone knows about such cases so they can keep themselves safe and take some protective measures in case of any similar circumstances. In this video, we will be looking at 10 of the most terrifying and horrific murder cases that are still unsolved by the police. Let's get started. 1. The Dyatlov Pass Incident. It was the first night of February 1959 when 9 ski hikers set up camp in the mountains of what is now Russia, and all of them died mysteriously. The night of the event, the group had set up camp on a slope, eaten dinner, and was getting ready to sleep when something went horribly wrong, and they never returned. On February 26, searches revealed that the hikers' tent had been ripped open from the inside. The footprints that were found in the nearby area were very odd. Some showed people wearing socks, some with shoes, and some were even barefoot. His footprints continued until they reached the edge of a nearby forest. That is the area where the first 2 victims were discovered, shoeless and only wearing underpants. The scene showed signs of hypothermia death, but as medical examiners inventoried the remains, as well as the other 7 discovered in the months that followed, hypothermia became unthinkable. In reality, the evidence was illogical. One person exhibited blunt force trauma consistent with a vicious attack. Another had 3rd-degree burns. One had vomited blood. One was missing a tongue, and part of their clothing was radioactive. There were different theories that circulated after the incident. Some of them said it was a drug overdose, a UFO, a gravity anomaly, and some even claimed that it was the Russian version of the Yeti. A documentary filmmaker recently presented a theory involving a terrifying but real phenomena known as infrasound, in which the wind interacts with the topography to produce a barely audible hum that can induce powerful feelings of nausea, panic, dread, chills, nervousness, increased heartbeat rate, and breathing difficulties. The only certainty is that whatever occurred included an overpowering and potentially inhuman force, and the mystery is still unsolved, and not even the police were able to find out what exactly happened that night. 2. The Ghost Ship. On December 4th, 1872, a British-American ship that had the name Mary Celeste was found empty in the Atlantic Ocean while it was supposed to have passengers on board. It was discovered to be seaworthy and to have all of its cargo intact, with the exception of a lifeboat, which looked to have been boarded in an orderly manner. But why is this so? We may never know, because no one on board was ever found. The Mary Celeste set sail from New York in November 1872, heading to Genoa, Italy. Captain Benjamin Briggs and 7 crew members were on board, including Briggs's wife with their 2-year-old daughter. The supplies on board were plentiful and luxurious, including a sewing machine and an upright piano. Commentators usually agree that an uncommon and worrisome condition must have occurred to prompt an abandonment of the seaworthy ship. However, the most recent entry in the ship's daily log indicates nothing unexpected, and everything looked to be in order on board. There have been many theories regarding the incident. Some claim it was a mutiny, a pirate attack, or an assault by a giant sea monster. But so far, there has not been a single theory on which everyone has agreed. And since we don't know what actually happened there or where the passengers went, scientists have proposed in recent years that gases from alcohol on board might have triggered an explosion that, due to scientific quirks, did not leave behind indications of burning but was frightening enough that Briggs ordered everyone onto the lifeboat. 3. The Cape Intruder. Back in 2005, something unsettling occurred in the upscale hamlet of Cape Elizabeth, Maine. Victims who left their doors unlocked throughout the night might wake up in the morning to see a guy peering at them. Before anyone could respond, the man would escape the scene, leaving the home exactly as he found it. There was no theft, no one was hurt or killed, When he crept into their beds to watch them sleep, all he took was their privacy. On the local news, a sketchy portrait of a man in his early 20s was shown. Everyone appeared to believe they knew who it was, and the police got several calls from worried residents suggesting potential candidates. Despite the fact that two people had the same name, the Cape Intruder was never apprehended. He never broke in again after several invasions in August, December, and February. He might have had enough of staring at sleeping people at that point, but just the notion that such a person exists and is still among us is enough to give anyone the shivers. And of course, it serves as a sad warning to keep our doors locked. 4. The Orang Madon SS. This is the case with another ship. Ghost ships aren't merely depicted in stories and films like the Pirates of the Caribbean. The whole crew inexplicably died in this actual incident. It all started in 1947 when ships passing through the Malacca Strait, which connects Sumatra and Malaysia, received a distress call. All officers, including the captain, are dead, lying in the chart room and bridge. Possibly the entire crew is dead. The message was followed by some indecipherable Morse code, and finally, I die. The Silver Star, an American ship, responded to the distress call and discovered the Orang Madon. But there was no traces of the crew on deck, even when they tried to summon them, so they boarded the ship only to discover a horrific scenario. The bodies of the Dutchmen lay scattered around the deck, their features contorted in such a way that one would suppose they had experienced something heinous before their end. The dog was likewise dead, its face distorted in anguish. The body of the captain was discovered on the bridge, while the communication officer remained in his position, his frozen fingers still pressing the telegraph. The American crew arrived on the boiler deck to discover the same situation. Despite the fact that it was over 100 degrees down there, they were chilled. They returned to their ship and decided to pull the Orang Madon into port. However, as soon as they hooked the tow line, smoke began to billow from the ship. It detonated moments later, descending into the watery grave and taking its secrets with it. What horrifying events did the team witness? Some believe it was the result of paranormal activity. Perhaps a gang of ghost ships assaulted the ship, or aliens decided to make an appearance. Such unexplained events do occur, as fireman and EMT Mick Myers discovered at his firehouse. Others, on the other hand, have more scientific reasons. Many theorize that the Dutch ship was smuggling hazardous materials such as potassium cyanide and nitroglycerin. Sea waters may have interacted with the cargo, causing the toxic gas to be released and poison the crew. The nitroglycerin would later cause the explosion. Or maybe there was trouble in the boiler room and carbon monoxide killed the crew and a fire got out of hand and destroyed the ship. What is most troubling is the fact that although the Silver Star is very real, there are no registration records for the ship. 5. The Case of Glico Morinaga. Prepare to be shocked, because this case is as bizarre as a TV crime show. It works with the Japanese company Izaki, Glico, and Morinaga, best known for their Pocky snacks. In 1984, two masked armed men broke into CEO Katsuhisa Izaki's mother's house and bound her, taking the CEO's house key. They bound up his wife and daughter as they broke into his house. Miss Izaki attempted to bargain with the men about money, but they were after something else. They raided the bathroom where Izaki and his two children were hiding by cutting the phone cords. They abducted Izaki and held him hostage in a warehouse. They issued a ransom for 1 billion yen and 100 kilograms of gold bars. Their plans were discovered when Izaki managed to escape 3 days later. A few weeks later, just as the company thought it had escaped extortion, vehicles in the parking lot of its headquarters were set on fire. Then, in Ibaraki, where the warehouse was located, a container containing hydrochloric acid and a threatening letter addressed to Glico were discovered. This started a string of letters from the Monster with 21 Faces, a person or group named after a villain in a Japanese detective series. The letters allegedly laced the company's candy with potassium cyanide soda and threatened its products. Glico was forced to remove the products from the shelves, incurring a $21 million loss and laying off 450 part-time employees. After months of tormenting Glico, the Monster with 21 Faces decided to seek his entertainment elsewhere. "We forgive Glico," read their final letter to the company. Following that abrupt conclusion, they focused their attention on the food companies Marudai Ham, House Foods Corporation, and Fujiya. In exchange for not harassing Marudai, one of its employees was to hand them ransom money on a train. That's when an investor disguised as an employee spotted the prime suspect, dubbed the Fox-Eyed Man. The man was well-built, his hair cut short and permed, with eyes like those of a fox. After dropping the ransom as instructed, he and another investigator attempted to follow the Fox-Eyed Man, only to lose him. They would get a second chance later on, but he again evaded them. After continuing harassment towards the police, a year later, Police Superintendent Yamamoto committed suicide by setting himself on fire. Ashamed of his failure to capture the Fox-Eyed Man 5 days following the death, the monster with 21 faces sent its final letter to the media. Yamamoto of Shiga Prefecture Police died. How stupid of him. We've got no friends or secret hiding places in Shiga. It's Yoshino or Shikata who have died. What have they been doing for as long as 1 year and 5 months? Don't let bad guys like us get away with it. There are so many fools who want to copy us. No career Yamamoto died like a man, so we decided to give our condolences. We decided to forget about torturing food-making companies. If anyone blackmails any of the food-making companies, it's not us, but someone copying us. We are bad guys. That means we've got more to do than bully companies. It's fun to lead a bad man's life. The monster with 21 faces, and with that final statement, the monster with 21 faces disappeared, never to be heard from again. 7. A sock with a foot inside it. This creepy scene happened back in 2007 when a girl was roaming around a beach in British Columbia where she found a sneaker. When she opened the sock, she was horrified to discover a human foot inside. A number of severed feet have washed up on the beach since then. The feet have been linked to 5 men, 1 woman, and 3 people of unknown gender. With a fake foot thrown in here and there over the years, the case has never been completely closed, with many theories floating around as to who the feet belong to. In 2008, Vancouver police were able to identify one foot by matching its DNA to the DNA of a suicidal man. They were later able to link the other 2 feet to a woman who was also thought to have committed suicide. Because of these discoveries, many people believe the feet belong to people who died after jumping off a bridge. However, because only feet and no other body parts were found, some believe the feet were linked to a plane crash on a nearby island. Others believe they were victims of the 2004 Asian tsunami because the shoes were all manufactured before 2004. Whatever origins these feet have, they have perplexed the world for years. 8. Tara Calicos' disappearance. It seemed like a perfect day to ride a bike on September 20th, 1988 in Bella, New Mexico. Tara Calico borrowed her mother's pink bike for a ride. She was an outgoing and active person who worked as a bank teller and was studying to be a psychologist or psychiatrist. She had planned to play tennis that afternoon and had asked her mother to drive out after her if she got a flat tire and didn't return home by noon. She never returned. Every lead led nowhere until a year later when a photo of a young woman her age and a missing boy, both gagged, were discovered. The Polaroid photo was discovered in the parking lot of a junior food store in Florida. Michael Henley, then 9 years old, went missing in the same area as Calico in 1988. While hunting turkeys with his father, they appeared to be in the back of the van with a copy of a book written by Calico's favorite author, V.C. Andrews, lying next to the girl. Tara's mother initially denied that the girl in the photograph was her daughter, but the girl in the photograph had a scar that matched Calico's. Despite this, many experts dismissed the photograph due to the lack of evidence. In 1990, Michael Henley's body was found in the Zuni Mountains, where he was hunting, which strongly disproves the theory that the two were abducted and taken to Florida. Calico's parents would eventually die, never finding out who took their daughter. 9. The Zodiac Killer. Most people are usually quiet about their crimes, but Zodiac, as he dubbed himself, was anything but quiet. From 1968 to 1969, he terrorized San Francisco with his murder spree, taunting the police with his coded letters to the local paper. He had at least 5 killings directly connected to him, although he claims to have killed 37 people. His terror began when Betty Lou Jensen, 16, and David Arthur Faraday, 17, were found lying outside of their bullet-peppered car. Jensen was found dead at the scene with 5 gunshot wounds to her back, while Faraday died of a bullet to the head en route to the hospital. Half a year later, a couple who had parked their car 4 miles away was also gunned down, with 1 injured and 1 killed. The survivor, Michael Magoo, was able to give a description of the killer. He described a heavy-set white man around 5'8". It would be the Zodiac Killer himself who would give the police the remaining evidence. Most of the people he targeted were young couples. At 12:48 a.m. the same night, police received a strange call. I wish to report a double murder. If you go 1 mile east on Columbus Parkway to a public park, you will find the kids in a brown car. They have been shot with a 9mm Luger. I have also killed those kids last year. Goodbye." The first letter from the Zodiac Killer arrived in newspapers a month later. He demanded that the letters be published on the front page or he would go on a killing spree. The letter detailed the murders, which were all written in mysterious ciphers that appeared to form a code. This was a recurring theme in his other letters, which were all signed with a cross-circle symbol. A high school teacher and his wife decoded one such letter. It said, "I like killing people because it is so much fun. It is more fun than killing wild game in the forest because man is the most dangerous animal of all to kill something that gives me the most thrilling experience. It is even better than getting your rocks off with a girl. The best part of it is that when I die, I will be reborn in paradise and those I have killed will become my slaves. I will not give you my name because you will try to slow down or stop my collection of slaves for my afterlife." The Zodiac Killer would go on killing and leave frustrating evidence for the police: coded letters, anonymous phone calls, the crossed circle written on victims' cars, sending over blood-stained shirts, accounts from survivors, but the police was unable to locate the killer, and hence the cases of all these murders remain unsolved. 10. Jack the Ripper. It was a bad year to be a prostitute in 1888. 5 women were murdered in London's East End, Whitechapel district, between August 7th and November 10th that year. Their throats were slashed and bodies mutilated in a way to suggest that they were all murdered by the same person. One victim's kidney was even mailed to cops, along with a series of taunting notes written by someone claiming to be Jack the Ripper. Serial killing was a new phenomenon, and the attacks were widely publicized. The failure of the law to identify the killer sparked such outrage that both the Home Secretary and the London Police Commissioner resigned in disgrace. Jack the Ripper, whoever he was, has been the subject of hundreds of books and articles. The theories surrounding his identity vary, from a covert Masonic plot to a member of the royal family. That was all from this video. I hope you all had a very clear view of these 10 unsolved crime cases. If you know of any other unsolved crime cases, let us know in the comments. Also, tell us your thoughts about whether these cases were actually too hard to be solved by the police, or if they just did not want to solve them. Share your thoughts in the comments section below.